Welcome everyone. Today I want to make a video about meditation. I think it's one of the most important topics I could talk about. You've got to listen to what I have to say and ponder it. Don't make an immediate decision and say, oh yeah, good, or oh no, bad. Just listen and ponder. Most of you are not going to find a purpose for your existence. And the reason you won't is because you are lost in your thoughts. You are lost in your imagination. In the beginning, starting before creation, God intended to have a people with whom he could dwell. The universe is a beautiful thing, but it is just mechanical. As beautiful as it is, it's mechanical. He wanted to create love and other beautiful things that we know, like faith and so on, joy, awe and wonder. All of them have an element of freedom in them. He wanted to create love. And so from the very beginning, have you ever had a child? Or you were in a family where a child was going to be born, and you see the parents preparing for that child. They prepare a special room, a crib. They gather all the things so that there will be a nice home for that little babe, and they await the babe's arrival. Well, from the very beginning, God had in mind a people who could love him and who would know him and who he could love. And beginning with the energy that went forth into the void, beginning with light of tiny particles coming together in more complex forms, forming the minerals and the elements and the stars and the universe and the earth and the vegetation and the water and the land and the sky and the clouds and the animals. Finally, the pinnacle of creation, the human being, made in the image and likeness of God. And what happened was that error was introduced. Everything has to be just right. The sequence, for example, the DNA sequence for let's say, the birth of something. So each element, each number in the DNA sequence, each element has to be right. Then it has to be at the right place in the right sequence. And then there's timing involved. The birth of the little deer, where it begins as an embryo and emerges as a deer, or the birth of a child. There's also timing involved and layers of growth. One layer completed, then it gathers together what will be needed for the next layer. Very complicated, but it has to be perfect. And everything unrolled from the very beginning in perfection. From the creation of the first minute particle, and from the first photon, the first boson, all the way up to the final. Everything perfect. Preparation, like the parents prepare with love and with care. The room, the crib, the bedding, everything for the arrival of the child. Finally, the human race, the pinnacle of creation. And something went wrong, which you well know, in the Garden of Eden. Adam, instead of loving God and loving his wife, he was a bit selfish, and he loved himself more than he loved God. I'm not saying he didn't love God, but he loved himself more. He was selfish, as we all are, till we learn better. Well, he messed up. Now the human race became subject to something else, and error was introduced. Error was introduced, and so the human race became something else. It mutated and became a race of selfish people. But once in a while, along the way, but God's plan continues. In fact, he used what happened for the ultimate good, because his plan continued, and then there was the Messiah. And from the time of Adam until the time of Christ, there were prophets from time to time who spoke of what would be and who would come. And there were noble people, David, Elijah, Noah, Moses. There were noble people, Ruth, along the way, who gave us a little hint of what a human being could be. And then finally the Messiah came. And he brought his kingdom, and he established his kingdom, the kingdom of God, upon the earth. And he had love for his Father. And because of his love for his Father, and because of his love for people, he remained faithful from the beginning to the end. Through everything that he had to undergo, he remained faithful. And he now is the start of the kingdom of God, of people who love God, and whom God is with, and who can live forever with God. So now, having said that, you now can see where you're at. You are part of the fallen race. You inherit that. Now it's not your fault. Not your fault. The race you were born into, the human race, nor the family you were born, nor the society, nor anything. And the fact that you even sinned, it's not your fault. You sin by compulsion. That's your nature. Compulsively sin. Constantly. Okay? But the miracle is that some of us can be redeemed. Some of us can return to God. And some of us can be upgraded to become and translated to become even more than what Adam was. Now, how does this miracle happen? Well, it was because of Christ. And it's, if you find a reconnection with God, and then he leads you. Remember, we talked about from the whole creation, from the very beginning. Things fall in line, one then another, in perfect sequence, in perfect form, in perfect timing, growth. It's very complicated. And such a thing can happen to you in the spiritual, in the moral realm. See, ultimately, that's the most important. Love, loyalty, courage, honor, sweetness. You see, joy, understanding. Those are so important. And it's the development of those in you. So every little adversity that you encounter, every cruelty, every lack of understanding, every error, each one of those is an opportunity for you to express love, patience, and to have faith. Faith means to hold your ground, knowing that there's something that awaits you, something good, something from your Creator. Sometimes you can get a glimpse of it. Sometimes you just know without a glimpse. You just know that something good is coming. And so you persist. You endure. And through all you go through, each step of the way, your character grows. Remember, in God's material creation, took a long time, didn't it? From the beginning of the flow of time and of space and of matter and the stars, the planets, the universe. It took a lot of time to develop this creation. And the earth and the water and the land and the sky and the plants and the animals. It took a long time in the human material creation. And now, moral creation, creation of love and patience and faith and understanding. So understanding comes by way of patience and faith, holding fast. Now, this creation then will become the human being who will be the child of God and is a child of God, being perfected by God, not by you. It all begins with God. It began in the very beginning. The first flow of energy